Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Cosmic Howling Media. Today is August 8, 2019. Here's a couple excerpts from a recent writing by Cobra. I'll post his website below for any that are listening and that aren't familiar still with Cobra's website. There's so much excellent stuff here, and this is a most recent writing by Cobra. He just released on September 5 of 2019 here. So, basically, just to read some of what Cobra's written here is, this is very exciting in itself. Cobra writes, surface population of this planet is finally beginning to taste true galactic consciousness, as it is becoming aware that there are far better places than planet Earth. And there's lots of links to other websites throughout this writing by Cobra. Definitely want to check this one out if you haven't yet. And also, this is another very important thing that's really helping the liberation process, is more and more of us on the surface of Earth meditating, including meditating together. There's, for example, many now Sisterhood of Rose groups that get together and meditate together. And if you're interested in that, check that out. You can get information on that through going to Cobra's website here. Into a Sisterhood of the Rose group that's, there's a good chance there'll be one close by to where you live if you're interested in checking it out. And because we all know the science of meditation, it's, you know, there's been so many positive things that happen and continue to happen in meditation. You know, when people get together and meditate, and then, you know, the crime rate reduces for a while with that meditation going on, all kinds of groovy stuff. So that's good news. That continues to happen, and a major important thing, the whole meditation thing. Another excerpt from this writing from Cobra. Cobra writes, at this moment, the surface of the planet is still 85% under control of the dark forces, and the Jesuit plan to infiltrate the Eastern Alliance was quite successful. All BRICS countries, except Russia to a degree, have been infiltrated by Jesuit agents in the last 5 years. And the BRICS today is not the same BRICS as when Lula was the president of Brazil. So, that's ongoing. There is massive progress in that will certainly have more and more positive effects going on, which is reported also here. There's some reports here that there is quite a mass purging going on right now on the Draconian, the negative Draconians that are on the surface of the Earth. There's quite a purge going on by some of the reports here written by Cobra. So that's excellent news, because that's all linked to the, as well, the mid-1990s Archon invasion, that when a portal opened up in the Republic of Congo in Africa, and that enabled some very powerful archonic beings to come through into this construct, and it's been, you know, devastating in many ways. So that's getting really purged now by reports of recent here, and that getting rid of the these otherwise very powerful dark force beings walking the Earth's surface in the Draconians. And if those who aren't too familiar with the Draconians, they're basically, you know, they're not welcome anywhere in this galaxy. No one wants them around. They're around here still, but we're really, the purge is on now. And thanks to, hats off to all the life forces involved there. That's huge. For example, the Mars indigenous reptilians. They're like really our cousins, you know. I mean, I'm not going to go walk into one of their villages unannounced. You know, a good chance I'll get eaten literally. But, you know, they're great warriors and all this, but they're like our cousins, and that's some of the things we can look forward to, is to start to connect with our other brothers and sisters, cousins, etc. of this solar system and beyond, including the indigenous Mars reptilians, who have battled against the Draconians as well. And all I've heard so far is that that's been a pretty successful campaign to keep the Draconians driven out of Mars, in large part, by the indigenous reptilians and forces from the humans, the Earth surface humans, what some people call the breakaway civilizations from the Earth's surface, the secret space program, peoples, armies, etc. The colonies, including the colonies that are in Mars, because there's probably over 10 million humanoids, Earth surface humanoids on Mars in the colonies and the military, the combat soldiers protecting things, etc. There. Many have been born there, but many have been sent there on missions as secret space program members to Mars from the surface. So that's ongoing, and that continues to come out. That's great. All that, it's just flooding out now. Eh? More and more people remembering their experiences, etc. So that's pretty cool stuff. The financial reset, the quantum financial system continues to unfold. The quantum financial system, run by very sophisticated quantum computers, photon-driven quantum computers in a satellite that's orbiting the Earth. And thanks to some Palladian's technologies, these computer systems are very advanced, and none of us can rip it off. That's the great thing. So that's the new financial system coming into play here. And that's massive, because then we'll have a world and beyond financial system to work with, where it's, all this theft, all this stealing cannot will no longer be able to go on with the sophisticated computer technology running it. None of us is going to be able to rip it off. That's primo. So that's good. Now, at the same time, part of this report, Cobra explains, and anybody that listens to the news, including the so-called mainstream media, of some of the things that have been reported by the cabal bankers, so they're basically trying to roll out. They know their system is collapsing, and has collapsed in a lot of ways, the black magic Babylonian money system. So they're obviously, and we can see it, they're trying to roll out a new system so they can still control it. Eh? And so that's an ongoing battles. The war's still on between dark and light, but massive progress by the light forces. I continue to say, and absolutely every day, at all levels, more and more positive forces are taking charge. It's up to each individual, each group, organization. What do we want? Eh? Do we want to build a really good world? We can do it. And it's more, things are opening up more and more energetically and at all levels. So great to see. And now I'd just like to get into some other really huge progress by light force, thanks to some really powerful, excellent light forces in play on various levels, including political and military, of course. And what it's saying here, what Cobra's writing here is another little excerpt from Cobra's writing here. Cobra writes, the following intel about the hit contract on Epstein by Koch brothers has been confirmed by reliable sources. And that's coming from Cobra here. And this is a website called whatdoesitmean.com. I'll post the link below. Anybody interested in this, check this one out. There's lots of links in here and everything. But basically this article goes on to say that, of course, there was one of the Koch brothers died recently, David Koch. And basically what's been in place, the Koch brothers had a lot of control of the Republican Party in the United States of America. And they don't anymore, basically. Now, that's thanks to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the military white hats supporting him, backing him, and other positive forces in play. And so this is a great article to go through. There's lots of links, like I say, and it's really exposing, also the left-wing, right-wing scam by the dark forces, really what it is. It's, this is great to see. This exposure needs to keep happening, and it is. But basically, a little bit about this article is the younger brother of the Koch brothers, who have been running Koch Industries, has been part of helping expose them and ultimately take them down. So hats off to a gentleman by the name of William Koch, Bill Koch, who is the younger brother of Charles and David Koch. And there's quite a story to that here, that's for sure. So basically, this is some very positive news. It's really more and more exposing and linking these billionaires in the highest crimes that they're in fact, so many of them are involved in some of the most heinous crimes that exist, basically. What we're dealing with here is of the most heinous criminals that exist in the entire galaxy. That is not an understatement. And why I say that, one reason why I say that, and you see the results of that, what's happening now in the galactic courts is some of these beings here that have got so corrupted of light and so criminal that some are being sentenced to real death in galactic high courts. And that is a tragic thing for sure. Because when any soul being is sentenced to real death, we're sent to galactic central sun, our soul, for disintegration processes. That soul being no longer exists. There's been, of recent, for example, David Rockefeller, that soul being doesn't exist anymore. He was sentenced to real death. George Bush Sr. doesn't exist as a soul being anymore. So, that's real death. And there's some sci-fi stuff and stuff that speaks to that. If anybody isn't familiar with a show called Altered Carbon, there's a lot of disclosure in that show. Altered Carbon on, what's that, Netflix. Altered Carbon. Brilliant, big budget, great work by the actors and the producers and the directors and the stories and the CGI now, just like it's really, film is, we're at a new level in film, really, eh? I mean, they're, producing so much dark stuff, of course, those who support, but there's a lot of disclosure coming out through the, and has always been really for years and years. But so, Altered Carbon, that's one of the themes in there. They speak of real death, being sentenced to real death, and that actually does and is happening here tragically to some of the beings that have become so corrupted of light, so criminal, have engaged in such mass criminality, including against our babies and tots and children, unfortunately, of course. So step by step, we're going to build a better world than we are. We're at the beginnings of it for sure. We can have a world of abundance for all, mass, peace, equality, and abundance for all. Absolutely. So I'll link this whatdoesitmean.com in the description box for anybody that hasn't checked this out. Very good. And hats off to President Trump and the military white hats for your awesome ongoing works. I'd just like to say one more thing about the goddess energies, if you will, and that's really major. What's starting to return more sanity, more legality here in this construct is the return of the goddess energies. And to me, a great example of that is the First Lady of the United States, Madame Melania Trump. To me, she is, I just got that, it's more, I can't prove this, but I believe to know that she is of the most powerful goddess light warriors that walks the earth right now. And just a coincidence, she's First Lady of the United States, of course, eh? So hats off to Melania Trump as well, the First Lady of the United States. That will be revealed in more official capacities, obviously. But I'd just like to mention that, it's great to see the goddesses of love, the goddess warriors out there doing great work in their way. I think they're teaching us men some really important things, and cool and awesome works, all you goddesses out there. I'd just like to touch on a very important fact of this whole control matrix going on here, and the fact that it's a major factor is the suppression of sexual energies, the distortions of such, the manipulations, the perversions of such, and of course all this heinous crimes, this black magic, sex magic that goes on. and it has been going on here for a long time. And finally, it's being exposed, and step by step, we can really start to do something about it, and eventually get it stopped, and make a safe place for all, especially our children, of course, our babies, our tots, our children, our adolescents, and all the adults, everybody, all the creatures. So, with that, and so there's so much could be said about this, but basically, the major controlling factor of this matrix is suppression of female energies, female sexual energies. And there's many forces involved in that, and we can see the suppression of the female in this civilization in many ways, is obviously there's a lot of symptoms that we see in the world of that, just the suppression of the female population in all sorts of ways. And then in recent times, you see all this manipulation going on, genders and this and that, and this really what is nothing short of the Luciferians, the Satan worshippers, bringing into the school systems this perverted, distorted, manipulated so-called sex education, right? It's just for that, to confuse the children, to manipulate them, to distort what can be and is very powerful energies. The energies, sexual energies, the energies, and especially female sexual energies, if you will. So, it's great that this stuff's coming out now. Now, the manipulation of sexual energy, primary central machination of the matrix here to keep it in place. And like I say, in recent times, we're seeing the dark forces implement these very twisted, they're so twisted and corrupted of light and criminal often, that you see it's a great thing to see the people standing up to it and saying, we don't want this in our schools. That's everybody, the teachers, the principals, the parents, the children, and the society in general. So that's ongoing, and will continue to be. So it's all sort of coming out into the open now, as we can see the dark forces agendas, and they're really more and more in a panic mode, and so they're making more mistakes, and more and more light forces are stepping up at all levels, and throwing the dark forces agents of various levels off center, off balance. That's what they do to us all the time, and it's showing more and more. So let's keep up the good work. Light forces everywhere. Hats off to the light forces at all levels everywhere. Excellent. Let's keep this going. Victory of the light, absolutely. And I just want to say also in this segment here that as a soul being that we all are, when we go from 7th dimension and we enter into 6th dimension, that's when the splitting of our soul takes place. And as we've, even here in this matrix, most if not all of us have heard of the twin flame, the twin soul that we all have. We're that. We're just, and the cool thing is, I heard not too long ago from a very good source, actually Cobra, is that in the center of our heart chakra is a sphere. And that sphere, half of it is the soul being, like in the case of me, the soul being I am. Half of it is the soul that I am, and the other half is my twin flame, my twin soul, and they're revolving in opposite directions, and they're they make up half each sphere. The sphere, and so we're always connected with our twin flames. That's all I'd like to mention on that for now. Basically, our twin souls, we're always connected. The center of our heart chakra, we're with our twin souls always. And so, of course, we can think of our twin flame and our heart chakra and start to visualize and connect more and more with our twin flames now, especially with a lot of the primary anomaly that's been neutralized, all the energetic parts parts that have been set up by the dark forces to keep us in this prison we've been in. And so with that, the clearing of all these heavier energies more and more, these anomalies and such, the primary anomaly as it's known, other things, then more and more we're able to communicate with our star brothers and sisters and beings from all over, if you will, including we can open up and more connect and communicate with our twin flames, twin soul. Just remember, right in the middle of your heart chakra, it's a little sphere revolving, and you and your twin flame are half of each of that, revolving together, always connected with your twin flame. So that's pretty cool stuff. And I'd also like to mention there are what's known as primary implants that are in us. These are etheric realm implants, not physical implants. We have those too. But I'd just like to focus on some primary implants we have. One is basically we're born into here, and the primary implant it basically is saying to us, I'm not God. You know? And that's been a major successful manipulation of us, with thinking these gods, these dark forces, these very corrupted of light criminals, and often we think they're the gods, you know, these fallen angels and such. And we speak of the gods. I'm one of them. We are the gods from the Godhead, from Source, right? From Prime Creator, as some of the First Nations peoples refer to what a lot of us refer to God here. But really, in the real sense of the word God, the English word God, we are the gods. And we're all from the Godhead, we're all from Source. Because really, the inner core of our soul is pure love and light. That is Source. So, you know, as we refer to, sometimes a lot of us refer to, we are the God sparks. That's the spark, is this pure, pure love and light energy in the center of our soul, if you will. That kind of thing. It's not that simple, obviously, because we can become more and more corrupted of light, our soul, and more distorted and that kind of thing. But basically, that's the essence of what we are. We are all from Source, ultimately, eh? And just having these experiences, all sorts of experiences, limited consciousness experience, as in being incarnated in a prison matrix like this, obviously. But so this awakening that's going on, and it definitely is. There's no escaping it. It's really an energetic thing more than anything. Regardless if we're reading or doing anything here, this energy is affecting us, every living organism in this matrix. Obviously, all this, one way to describe it is basically the solar system continues to move into a very highly photonically charged part of the galaxy. And that's just, the awakening, eh? And just the energy surging through the suns, from galactic sun and through all the suns and our sun here right in this solar system. It's like, if we don't think there's something profound going on here, I mean, look at that sun. That sun sure didn't look like that when I was a kid, so to speak. Eh? It was more yellowy, reasonably more yellowy and stuff. It's become more and more silvery now. Eh? The sun is so powerful, the energy. So our sun is literally becoming more into a golden age sun, if you will. Eh? That's more and more just like, wow, amazing stuff. Okay, folks. So now I'd just like to, I want to touch on a couple of the primary implants that are in us that really, reap havoc and really distort things, our perception of things, and our, lower our intelligence and our perceptions of things, and really have all sorts of negative effects on us. Well, we can come out of that now. There's a couple of teachings also that we can, basically these primary implants, let me just mention a couple of them, is the one, I am not God. So basically, if you want to sort of start to reduce the power that implant has within you, There's something that's been recommended by Cobra to do, and I haven't done it a lot, but I've done it some, and it works though. I've done enough to see that, oh, this stuff works, eh? And it's basically repeat over and over, I am God, I am not God, 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 I am God, I am not God. Just repeat that over and over, and it will start to reduce the power of that implant in you. It's like these implants I'm speaking of, it's on the etheric level, they're not physical. They're like little black holes, basically, is what they are, right? And so, but that, by saying that, repeating that over and over, I've done it enough to see that, oh, it does work. You know, it's going to kind of manipulate the implant itself, right? I mean, we got the power to do it. We just, you know, there's techniques, and that's one of them, anyways. So you might want to try that. I am God, I am not God. Just repeat that a whole bunch of times, and go from there. And the other major implant that really has been very effective for the dark forces and in all the manipulations of the peoples incarnating here for a long time is the sex implant, if you will. It's now basically when you incarnate here as a male, this etheric realm implant, which is another type of really a little black hole, if you will, as far as what these implants are in the etheric realm, is if you incarnate as a male here, basically, especially when we're younger, it's like we think of, love is sex, that kind of thing, eh? And this is very generalizing here, but I think it can be very helpful generally for any of us who want to try this one to reduce the power of this implant. It can be very harmful and manipulating, etc. implant is for the male population here. We think, love is sex, and for the females incarnating here, generally that implant they have is the opposite. They think sex is love, right? So you see this, this has been a very successful technology put into all of us here incarnating to keep us down, eh? And keep that very powerful sex energy when opened up to it in its natural healthy state is so powerful, right? Sex energy, sexual energies. So as a male here, if we want to reduce the power of that very otherwise powerful and debilitating implant that it can and is we can just start to say, and for the females too, for all of us here, we say, sex is love, sex is not love. 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 Just keep repeating that. It will basically trick the implant, literally. We got the power, like I say. These are powerful technologies in us, but we can now, as more information becomes available to us and techniques, etc., we can start to reduce their power, and step by step, eventually, we'll get free of it. We can get free of these implants and so many other things that are harming us and this whole civilization. So you say sex is love, sex is not love, that kind of thing, because sex can be love, but it's not necessarily a lot of love either. Sex is a physical act. That's part of it even too. It's not just a physical act for that matter, right? But I'm just saying you've seen that in play here in the civilization, where a lot of women says, I can't, I'd like to maybe engage with that young man as a young woman. I'd like to engage, but I gotta wait and be married, and because if I have sex, that's love, and that kind of thing. So it's a manipulation of love and sex, really, if you will. And they can be that, absolutely. They can be, when they unite, and that's when the power is. So when there's the more love involved in sexual energy, then it's just more and more powerful. Of course, the more pure love and light involved. When there's a union happening of sorts, including the physical union that happens. Thanks to all the life forces in Hollow Earth, in the Agartha network, all over the surface, in low Earth orbit, mid-Earth orbit, upper Earth orbits, all through the solar system, all through the galaxy, and beyond.